Here's the question that quietly haunts traditional Catholic circles. When you walk into a Latin Mass chapel, who are you praying for during the canon? The Pope by name, or just the Roman Pontiff in theory? The answer determines everything about where you stand in the Church. Let me show you the boundary line. Both the SSPX and Sedevacantists share a common root, a reaction to the post-conciliar crisis. Both believe the liturgical reforms went too far. Both see the council as a rupture. But here's where they split. The SSPX still prays for Pope Leo XIV by name every Sunday. Sedevacantists believe there is no pope. That difference is a chasm. The Society of St. Pius X operates on what's called the recognize and resist model. They acknowledge the Pope's authority and principle, but resist specific commands they believe contradict tradition. It's a precarious position, and right now, it's on the verge of collapse. On February 12, 2026, Cardinal Victor Fernandez met with the SSPX Superior General, Father Davide Pagliarani, at the Vatican. The offer was clear. Cancel your planned July 1st Episcopal consecrations, and we'll begin theological dialogue toward full communion. The SSPX's response came on February 18th. No, they will proceed with the consecrations. The Vatican's warning was equally clear. Proceeding would imply a decisive rupture of ecclesial communion, schism, with grave consequences for the fraternity as a whole. This is the SSPX's high-wire act. They argue that unauthorized consecrations don't constitute schism unless done with schismatic intent. But as theologian Larry Chapp writes, what the Society is asserting is that it believes in papal authority, but that the Second Vatican Council and the post-conciliar popes have forfeited their authority by teaching doctrinal error, creating a grave crisis that legitimates disobedience. In practice, the SSPX has set itself up as a parallel magisterium, the sole arbiter of what counts as authentic tradition. Sedevacantists take the next logical step. They argue that if a pope publicly teaches heresy, he automatically loses his office, no declaration needed. The theological basis comes from St. Robert Bellarmine and the principle articulated in Pope Paul IV's bull, Cum ex apostolatus officio. A manifest heretic cannot hold papal office. This means, for Sedevacantists, the See of Peter has been vacant since the death of Pius XII in 1958. John XXIII through Leo XIV are not true popes. The Congregation of Mary Immaculate Queen and the Society of St. Pius V operate on this premise. Griff Ruby, author of Sedevacantist, argues that the modern Vatican lacks unity, holiness, Catholicity, apostolicity, the four distinguishing marks of the Church. It has defected from the faith and no longer represents Catholicism. Here's the crucial distinction. The SSPX warns its faithful against sedevacantism. They insist that only a future pope or council can judge a predecessor. But the sedevacantist position is that no such judgment is needed. Heresy itself vacates the office. The danger, as Father John Hunwick explains, is that both positions contain a similar error. They assume the Pope always speaks with total authority. One group concludes, therefore, I must agree with everything. The other concludes, therefore, if he's ever wrong, he can't be Pope. Both, Hunwick warns, are equally dangerous to souls. What makes this a de facto sedevacantism is when the SSPX argues that the modern magisterium has taught error so fundamentally that true Catholics in the remnant must turn only to the past for guidance. The EWTN commentary put it bluntly. Affirmations of loyalty to Rome aside, the bizarre incoherence involved in claiming to defend tradition by repudiating papal authority cannot be ignored. Here's what you need to know for your own soul. If you attend an SSPX chapel, you are in an irregular but not schismatic situation. You hear the Pope's name in the Canon. You remain connected to the visible structure of the Church. If you attend a Sedevacantist chapel, you are operating under the premise that the hierarchy has ceased to exist. The four marks of the Church, one, holy, Catholic, apostolic, are understood to reside only in your small community. Cardinal Gerhard Müller, former prefect of the Doctrine Office, gave the key principle. A true reform of the Church can only take place from within the Church. The moment you walk out, whether to a parallel magisterium or to an empty chair theology, you lose the right to call yourself a reformer, and you risk losing the Church you claim to love. Here's your checklist. Are you resisting specific papal actions or denying the papacy itself? Do you pray for the Pope by name, or have you judged him unworthy of the office? The line is thin, but it might be the line that saves your soul.